4 o'clock. Get started with an announcement about the ASL and Spanish functions. Please go ahead with that announcement.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Tania Garcia. I'm your Spanish interpreter. I'm just giving you a reminder that today we have Spanish simultaneous interpretation as well as ASL. So if you're a monolingual English speaker, and in case we have somebody who speaks in Spanish, you can choose your language. That way you can have that immediate interpretation into English. So if you're joining with the computer, once the interpretation starts, you'll see a globe at the bottom of your screen. Please select English or select ASL. And if you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, your options will be a bit different. You need to tap your screen and find the menu with the 3 dots, either on top or at the bottom of your screen. Select language interpretation, and again, select English or ASL, and then select done. If you need any help, you can let us know in the chat, and I'm going to give my instructions in Spanish. Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos a su reunión. Queremos recordarles que, como siempre, tenemos interpretación simultánea disponible para ustedes. Si ustedes desean escuchar la junta en español y se unieron con una computadora, una vez que la interpretación sea encendida, van a ver el icono de un mundo en la parte de abajo de su pantalla de Zoom. Seleccionen ese icono y seleccionen español. Si ustedes desean escuchar la interpretación en un celular o en una tableta, sus opciones se van a ver un poquito diferentes. Necesitan tocar su pantalla y van a tocar los 3 puntitos del menú que está ya sea en la parte de arriba o abajo. Seleccionen interpretación de idioma, después seleccionen español y por último el botón que dice done, listo o finalizado. Si necesitan ayuda, pueden dejar sabernos en el chat. Thank you very much. We can start interpretation now.
Okay. Wonderful. Good afternoon and welcome to the Altadena community meeting. We have a few short presentations and then we will answer questions that have been pre-submitted by community members. Zoom attendees can submit questions in real time using the Q&A function on your screen. Agency representatives are on the Zoom meeting to respond live. As the interpreter mentioned, Spanish interpretation and ASL are also available on the Zoom platform. Note that questions submitted to the YouTube live chat will not be answered. For Zoom participants, when you exit this meeting, you'll also have the opportunity to take an optional survey and provide your email address. We encourage you to do this if you would like to receive follow-up communications related to Los Angeles County's recovery efforts in Altadena. You can also scan this QR code on the screen to sign up directly for the Joint Information Center's email list related to Altadena recovery efforts. We'll also drop this link in the chat. And with that, we'll begin. Supervisor Barger, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for our weekly community meeting. Today, our Department of Public Works will share the latest about the rate of right of entry forms are being processed, and regional planning will share about rebuilding plans. As a reminder, right of entry forms are due by March 31st. If you haven't submitted one already, please do so as soon as possible. And if you have, please remind your friends and neighbors to do so. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that residents opt into this free, efficient debris removal process. And on that note, the Army Corps is here to give us an update on how phase 2 of debris removal is going. Additionally, we're joined by the water districts and the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District, who will share their updates as well. We'll also hear from our treasurer tax collector, who will share about delaying property tax payments. This information is critically important. Fire impacted residents need to know that they don't have to pay their property taxes this April. The governor has waived all late fees and penalties until next year for those impacted by the fires. You're handling enough during the building process, so we're committed to alleviating additional burdens wherever we can. We've also committed to ensuring you have access to all resources of support possible. On Friday, our Department of Economic Opportunity announced that the first $2.7 million in grants has been awarded. These funds went to 82 businesses and nonprofits with grants of $25,000 each, and 324 workers with grants of $2,000 each. The first round of grants prioritized those who suffered the greatest impacts from the fires and those who submitted their applications quickest. The next round of grants will be released the week of March 31st, and will award an additional $15.9 million. Any applicant not selected for phase 1 will automatically be considered for phase 2. I am committed to getting these public dollars into your hand as quickly as possible to meet your needs. I've also seen some questions about private philanthropic dollars circulating on social media, specifically those raised by FireAid. While FireAid raised an estimated $100 million, LA County received $8 million of that. FireAid is providing funding to more than 100 organizations and is giving community grants ranging from $10,000 to $50,000. FireAid has designated about $2 million for Loma Alta Park because we heard from residents that they wanted services located back in Altadena as soon as possible. FireAid also directed $2.5 million to the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs for the Household Relief Fund, $4.5 million to the Department of Economic Opportunity for the Worker and Small Business Relief Funds, and $1 million to the Department of Arts and Culture. My office will continue to keep the community in the loop on what funding is available and where it's going. Before I wrap up, I wanted to share that we have now added a frequently asked questions section on the recovery website. Now, after our weekly community meetings, recovery.lacounty.gov/Altadena will be updated with answers to the questions that we've discussed. It's a convenient way to stay engaged with information in one centralized place. And speaking of questions, I understand that a question was submitted for today's meeting about insurance recovery checks that are being made out to the consumer and their mortgage company, but the checks funds are being held only by the mortgage company. This was also brought up during our special meeting for renters and those whose homes are still standing last Monday. I want you to know that we are continuing to look into this matter and will share information as we have it. If the Department of Insurance is with us, they will also have the opportunity to address this question during question and answer session. With that, let's get our meeting started. Thank you for being here.
Awesome, thank you. And our first presenter is Chris Shepard with the Department of Public Works. Please go ahead, Chris.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here today. I just wanted to provide you with a quick update on ROE status. To date, we've collected a total of 8,854 ROE submissions, and we have processed and transmitted a total of 5,177 of those ROEs over to the Army Corps of Engineers for conducting debris removal activities. So within Altadena specifically, we're 5,087 ROEs, and we have sent over 3,080 ROEs to Army Corps for processing. We continue to put a lot of resources onto this effort. We're reviewing hundreds of ROEs per day, and we're transmitting ROEs at a rate of over 200 ROEs per day over to Army Corps for cleanup, and continue to work through that. There are some new features on the ROE dashboard that allow you to click on useful links and upload additional documentation. So if you notice that your ROE status on the dashboard shows additional information needed, then you can actually click a link and upload that documentation directly through the dashboard now. You can also call into our debris hotline and speak to a case manager and specifically have them walk you through your case and get your information uploaded to complete and finalize your ROE. Again, we have transmitted many ROEs over to the Army Corps to conduct the debris removal, and we continue to keep resources on this and continue to submit as many ROEs as possible as quickly as possible. So with that, that concludes my quick update. A reminder that the deadline, as mentioned earlier, is March 31st to get your ROE in. We do request that everyone submit an ROE, regardless whether you're going to either have to submit an ROE or submit an opt-out form to let your decision be known. And now that concludes my update. I will wait for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. And next we will hear from Colonel Avichal from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Please go ahead, Colonel.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Colonel Sonny Avichal from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and I'll give a quick update on where we stand with Phase 2 cleanup. As of this morning, we had 80 crews working debris removal in the Eaton footprint. Just for awareness, this is a huge ramp up from where we were just 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we only had about 34 crews working. So we estimate, again, right now we're at 80 crews. We will continue to grow over the next month or so. As of this morning, also, we're at 212 properties that have been cleared of debris and the rights of entry have been returned to the county. So all very good indicators of where we are and where we're going. Very quickly, I'd like to talk a little bit about prioritization. Again, we are 100% committed to doing this as most efficiently and effectively as possible. However, we do have general categories of properties that we would like to prioritize. So the first type of priority is to those ecologically sensitive areas. Those are areas next to, a river or lake or, a coastline or something like that, where we want to try and reduce the likelihood of contamination spreading from the burned affected areas into one of those ecologically sensitive areas. So that's one category that we look at. Another one is areas next to communal areas. So think about schools, churches, places where people frequent. Again, we want to try and minimize that contamination as people congregate in those areas. And then the third area that we look at is areas where there are inhabited residents. So again, if you think about a street where most of the houses are occupied, and then you just have a few burned down houses, those would be prioritized as well. Again, we can't do anything unless we have that right of entry. So please get in those rights of entry so we can do work in your community. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Colonel. And just as a quick note for the attendees who are on the YouTube meeting, I apologize for that QR code. We will be sharing a screen that has the bit.ly link. If you type in that bit.ly link, you can join the Zoom meeting as well. We'll also have our team drop that in the YouTube chat. And with that, we will move on to the Department of Regional Planning. Nathan Merrick, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. And as an initial matter, thank you, Supervisor Barger and your staff for putting on these incredible community meetings, and regional planning is grateful for the opportunity to attend. I'm here to briefly discuss updates to our disaster recovery one-stops and other ways survivors and the public can reach out to planning to have those important rebuilding conversations. With respect to our one-stop offices, we currently have 2 open with a primary focus on disaster recovery. Our Altadena one-stop, located at 464 West Woodbury Road, Suite 210 in Altadena, is open Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Starting today, the Altadena One Stop is also open by appointment for rebuilding workshops. Those appointments are available Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can reserve your Altadena workshop appointment on recovery.lacounty.gov. While less of a focus for this community meeting, I did want to mention, in case anyone in here is associated with the Palisades fire, that our Calabasas One Stop, located at 26600 Agora Road in Calabasas, is also open for disaster recovery efforts. You can also reserve your Calabasas appointments on recovery.lacounty.gov. In addition to our field offices focused on disaster recovery, regional planning also has a number of other field offices which are open to the public. If any one of those locations is more convenient for you, you can absolutely visit one of those offices to get assistance from planning as well. You can find those office locations on planning's website at planning.lacounty.gov. If you prefer to get counseling by email or by phone, you can contact the disaster recovery team here at Planning at disasterrecovery@planning.lacounty.gov or at 213-974-6411. Finally, the countywide disaster recovery information can be found at recovery.lacounty.gov. and planning specific information can be found at planning.lacounty.gov/disaster-recovery. Thanks again for allowing me the time to provide this updated information. And this concludes my update. As one final note, I will say that I will drop all of that contact information and websites into the chat so that it's available for everybody. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you very much for that, Nathan. And next we're going to hear from the local water districts. We'll go ahead and start with Jennifer Benencourt from the Lincoln Avenue Water Company. Please go ahead, Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. I'm the general manager of Lincoln Avenue Water Company, and I'm extremely happy to report that as of last Thursday, March 13th, the do not drink order has been lifted for our entire service area. Residents within the Lincoln service area may now safely resume use of their tap water for drinking and all other purposes. If you are returning to your home, we do ask that you take some steps to flush some stagnant water that may be in your lines. We recommend running cold water from all taps for at least 5 minutes. We also ask that you sanitize any dishwashers by running an empty cycle with hot water and detergent. You also want to flush any water filters you may have, as well as ice makers. You want to throw out at least 2 batches of ice before you resume normal use. And again, any other water quality issues that you come across, please don't hesitate to contact our office, and I'll go ahead and include our information in the chat as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Jennifer. And next we'll hear from Armando from the Rubio Canyon Land and Water Association. Please go ahead, Armando.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Armando with Rubio Canyon Land and Water. I am the Assistant General Manager. We are also happy to report we received our list for our drink orders on Monday month. So that also includes our whole system is now potable. We are seeing some folks coming back to the residents. And as Jennifer stated earlier, to echo those same, concern is you want to make sure that you flush your taps for anything that has stagnant water. You want to get some fresh water into your residence to allow that clean water to be entered into your home. Concern, that area code 626.
All right, thank you, Armando. I think we might have had a difficult time hearing that. If you get the chance to go ahead and throw that phone number in the chat function, that would be wonderful. We'll move on to Bill with Las Flores Water Company. Please go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. My name's Bill Kimberling, GM of Las Flores Water Company. Las Flores still has a do not drink, do not boil order in effect for 2 of our zones. We probably won't get that lifted until about the end of April. I mean, that's what we're hoping. We're waiting upon approval from DDW to approve a sample station between Las Flores and Lincoln Avenue. Once that is approved, Lincoln Avenue will start to deliver water into our Cobb service area. And once that is completed with sampling and flushing, we will start with our Lake Avenue and hopefully, like I said, be done by the end of April. That's all I have to report.
Thank you for that, Bill. Next, we're going to hear from Elizabeth Buenristo Ginsburg, who is the Treasurer Tax Collector. Please go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Supervisor Barger for the opportunity to briefly share some important property tax information. And thank you for your opening remarks, Supervisor. So my office is committed to supporting our community during this difficult time. So I wanted to start with reminding everyone that the secured property tax deadline for the second installment remains April 10th as required by law. So property owners that were not impacted by the wildfires should pay their property taxes on time. Property tax revenue supports essential community services. For property owners whose property was damaged or destroyed by the fires, there is property tax relief available. If you normally pay your property taxes directly to the tax collector and have filed a misfortune and calamity claim with our assessor's office, you may delay paying your second installment property taxes until you receive an adjusted tax bill. I recommend that you please wait to receive an adjusted tax bill with a new due date to make your payment. You will not incur penalties while you wait to receive your adjusted bill. The county is working very diligently to complete reassessment and issue adjusted tax bills as soon as possible. Our assessor's office will begin reassessment in April, and this work will continue through approximately June. Property owners will receive notices of assessed value review from the assessor's office on a flow basis, and necessary adjustments may result in adjusted tax bills or refunds. We ask for your patience as this is complicated work and it will take some time to complete these adjustments. As Supervisor Barger mentioned at the beginning of our meeting, additional tax relief is available for properties affected by the recent wildfires in specific zip codes. The governor signed executive orders suspending penalties, interest, and cost on late payments until April 10th of 2026 for taxes that are due in 2025 for properties located in 18 zip codes impacted by the wildfires. For property owners in the impacted zip codes that were impacted by the fires, if you normally pay your property taxes directly to the tax collector and need more time or are not able to pay your taxes due in 2025 on time, you will not incur penalties. Property owners do not need to file a penalty cancellation request as long as you pay your property taxes by April 10th, 2026. Again, I want to urge property owners who were not impacted by the wildfires to pay their property taxes on time. This concludes my update, and I want to thank everyone for your time. We will be monitoring the Q&A and we'll be providing some information for our folks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Elizabeth. Next, we will move on to the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. Jason, please go ahead with your comments.
Thank you, everyone, thank you and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Farnett. I serve as the district manager of the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. As a special district, our mission is to protect public health by reducing the spread of mosquito-borne diseases such as West Nile virus and dengue through proactive mosquito control and community engagement. We serve 26 cities and portions of unincorporated Los Angeles County, and that includes Altadena and Pasadena. And so in the aftermath of this disaster, SGV Mosquito is proactively identifying and addressing new mosquito breeding habitats that have emerged as a result of the fire damage. And the destruction has left behind thousands of unmaintained swimming pools, damaged septic systems, and debris-filled areas, ideal conditions for mosquitoes to grow. And so we're working closely with the local, state, and federal agencies involved in the cleanup. And while cooler weather has temporarily suppressed mosquito activity, that will change quickly as we move further into spring. So the district has already enhanced mosquito surveillance in and around the burn area, monitoring mosquito populations and preparing to test samples for mosquito-borne diseases. We have identified over 1,200 damaged swimming pools within the burn area, which will primarily focus our response. Given our limited resources as a small district, we're committed to inspecting and treating these sites as efficiently and consistently as possible to minimize mosquito habitat and reduce the risk of disease. So we're going to prioritize control efforts based on proximity to adjacent communities and the requests submitted by property owners. Our support may include temporary mosquito control treatments or the use of mosquito fish, which will provide the longest term and most reliable solution. While property owners are ultimately responsible for preventing mosquitoes from growing on their property, we recognize the unique challenges this disaster has created. Standing water that fosters mosquito breeding is a violation of the Public Health and Safety Code, but we understand that many property owners currently have limited options for compliance. And so our goal is to provide as much support as possible during this transition period. So we encourage property owners to start thinking about long-term solutions, but in the meantime, we're here to assist with temporary mosquito control options. And so if you need assistance, please visit our website at eatonareamosquitocontrol.org to request mosquito control service and enroll in our tech support program. You can also follow us at SGV Mosquito for updates. And we're going to put our contact information in that website in the Q&A so that you guys can quickly link there for the request for service and the text program. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now we will transition to the question and answer portion of the evening. The following questions were submitted ahead of tonight's community meeting, and we will answer as many of them as we have the time allotted. As a reminder, you can find answers to your frequently asked questions on recovery.lacounty.gov/Altadena. Zoom participants can also submit questions in real time using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So for those of you who are on YouTube who would like to submit a question, we encourage you to hop on over to the Zoom meeting. And with that, our first question is going to be for the Army Corps of Engineers. So Colonel Avichal, this question is, could the U.S. Army Corps prioritize debris removal near homes that are still standing? This way, residents can move back and limit the recontamination in the ensuing months after having properties remediated.
Okay, so short answer to that is yes. So as we're getting in the rights of entry and as we continue to get those in, those areas will be prioritized for all of the reasons that you just said. We're trying to limit the contamination to those that are re-inhabiting their homes. So that is something that we're looking at right now. Again, it all goes back to the rights of entry, and the more that we get in, the more we're able to work methodically on our priorities. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And the next question is for the Department of Public Works. So I know we have Chris and Ciara on. The question is, since students are to return to campus this spring, Altadena Elementary, and others in the fall, and there are many more properties opting into phase 2 of debris removal, can there be priority cleanup efforts in neighborhoods surrounding schools to ensure debris-free environment for the children?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, I would just echo what Colonel Avichal had just stated. Similarly to the areas around existing homes, we can work with the Army Corps to help prioritize those ROEs that have been received around areas of sensitive uses like schools as well. So we'll coordinate closely with them. I would ask if there are neighborhood block captains and folks who are aware or able to reach out to your neighbors in these type of areas and contact them and have them reach out and fill out an ROE. That would help us tremendously as well in order to make sure that we're getting as many ROEs as possible in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is for the Department of Public Health. I believe we have Dr. Quick on. The question is, our home is still standing, but we are worried about the risks in our area. Can we be informed of where to find the soil and air quality testing results?
Yes, thank you. That is a great question. So Nicole Quick from LADPH, and let me give a little bit of background on where folks can go to get results from soil sampling. We have on the LADPH's website a post-fire assessment plan that can be sorted by different media. So you could put into the search soil, water, or air, and it will pull up the different entities that are conducting sampling in all three areas. So soil, water, air for both burn areas. So you can filter by what you want to look at there. There will be results that are posted there and or links to other websites, including finding air quality information on South Coast Air Quality Management District, water information on the water boards, and specific to the question related to soil, the DPH is working with an external contractor to do a representative soil sampling in the Eaton area, and those results, as they become available, will be made public. The other place to go for information is the Department of Public Health is hosting ongoing webinars. We have another one this Thursday where we will be sharing out some preliminary data, but also those will be linked on the DPH's website. So we'll make sure that we get in the chat here, the place to go for that post-fire assessment plan. And so that's the place to go back and check back frequently, because as these different entities, including DPH and academic partners and other folks, as they receive data, they're going to be putting data onto that post-fire assessment. And I'll make sure to put that in the chat for everyone.
Great, thank you. The next question is going to be for regional planning. So Nathan, this one's for you. The question that says, I was informed by regional planning last month that custom rebuilds would still be expedited, though not as quickly as like for like. However, today they told me that it would not be expedited and I had already hired an architect and started planning. Has this policy changed?
Thank you for that. No policies have changed with respect to disaster recovery project processing. Planning is expediting the review of all disaster recovery projects, irrespective of whether they are like for like or non-like for like. With that said, non-like for like projects will need to meet all current land use and zoning regulations, which may result in longer review timelines when compared to like for like rebuild proposals. Expedited timelines for non-like for like rebuilds will depend on the specific project proposal that does get submitted. But again, to be clear, no policies have changed. All rebuild applications will come to our disaster recovery team and they will be expedited.
Great, thank you. And stick around, Nathan. This next one is for you again. This one says, in January, we were advised that we can submit our plans to rebuild. However, I recently attempted to do that and was informed that the department is not yet ready to accept plans. Can you elaborate on this situation?
Absolutely. No, thank you for that question as well. Planning is willing, able, and has already started taking in disaster recovery applications, both for rebuilds as well as temporary housing. You can absolutely submit your disaster-related application online through Epic LA, and I will provide that link in the chat. Or you can also stop by one of our field offices, in particular the Altadena one stop related to the Eaton fire, to get your materials submitted as well. So yes, absolutely, you should be able to submit your application. And yes, we have the ability to take it in and start processing them.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question is going to be for the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. So Amelia, I believe we have you on the line. That question is, Altadena residents have been receiving very high estimated construction costs of about $600 to $800 per square foot. Is there anything in place by the county to prevent this type of price gouging?
Hi, thank you so much for the question. So in fact, yes, so state and local laws protect the public from price gouging after a declared emergency. So for example, the law prohibits those offering contractor-related services from increasing prices by more than 10%. In addition, businesses may not increase the prices of goods and services by more than 10% unless they can prove the price increase is due to their supplier's increase in price. So these protections against price gouging have been extended by the governor's executive order until January 7th of next year, 2026. So if you are experiencing an issue where you suspect there's price gouging happening as a result, please document and report. So anyone who suspects that they may be a victim of price gouging, you can file a complaint with DCBA with us. You can call us at 1-800-593-8222. You can also email us at complaints@dcba.lacounty.gov. You can visit us online at dcba.lacounty.gov. And what we recommend with respect to documentation to the services that you're going to be complaining about would be the store and business name and address, dated pictures of the item with the price, receipt if purchases were made, old receipts showing former item price, price advertisements such as flyers, internet ads, etc. And then for additional protection, property owners should be sure that they are working with a licensed contractor. That's very important. Be sure to be keeping records and save all estimates, contracts, receipts for purchases and services. And you can also check the licensing status of a contractor with the Contractor State Licensing Board at C as in cat, S as in Sam, L, B as in boy, so cslb.ca.gov.
Awesome, thank you for that, Amelia. And the next question is going to be for the Department of Public Works. So Chris or Sierra, someone is asking, why can't we in unincorporated areas with destroyed homes get sewers as part of our rebuild?
Great, I'll take that one. Kira Barnett with Public Works. And the provider for public sewer service in Altadena is the Consolidated Sewer Maintenance District, or it's called CSMD. And CSMD's revenue source for operation and maintenance of the sewer network in Altadena is property tax collected from parcel owners within the CSMD. So this tax revenue can only be used within the district. So it is legally not permitted for the district to spend this fund outside of the district. So any assessment district would need to be formed for parcel owners outside of the CSMD first before they could be annexed into the district. So if you or your neighbors would like more information, they can contact Ewan Singh on my team. I'll put her email in the chat, but it's itseng@pw.lacounty.gov. And then we can arrange a meeting to meet with you and hopefully some of your neighbors to explore your options and discuss public sewer extensions specific to your community.
Wonderful, thank you very much. The next one is going to be for the Army Corps of Engineers. So Colonel Avichal, the question is it possible to create a public listing of individuals who have opted in for phase 2 debris removal? It would be great to see where we are on the list and how close we are to having the debris removed.
So that's a great question. And I think, as we continue to receive more rights of entry, we will be able to kind of be able to fill out our charts a little bit more and be a little bit more predictive with timing. But right now, as we are getting them in, we're knocking them down as quickly as we can. So again, this will probably happen within the next few months, especially as all of those rights of entry that Chris had mentioned come our way, which should be here in the next couple of weeks, and then we can work on that. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question, Supervisor Barger had mentioned in the beginning, this is for the Department of Insurance, and I see, Julia, we have you on the line. The question that came from a community member is there anything to report on the issue related to the mortgage companies who are holding and controlling the insurance recovery checks? When the checks are issued to both the mortgage company and the homeowner, where can we report this issue?
Thank you very much for your question. I appreciate being here and give you more information. So this is not an insurance issue, as we don't regulate lenders. However, we essentially advise consumers that lenders require that they are named as on an insurance policy as a requirement of a loan in order to protect their interest on the property, right? So as such, the lender will be named on the insurance payment and control the disbursement of the funds. So they are listed as a named insured on the policy. So until the loan is paid off, the consumer will need to work with their lender as to the distribution of the settlement check. So once you have a contractor, you can work with them directly to make sure that they are paid and that everything is taken care of. We also advise that if you're not satisfied with how the lender is handling the insurance proceeds, that you contact the regulator of that particular type of lender. So here in the state, if the lender is a state licensed financial institution, the complaint or the issue should be referred to the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, and they can be reached at 866-275-2677. So I'm going to repeat that, and I'm going to also put it in the chat. The Department of Financial Protection and Innovation is 866-275-2677. If the lender is a national bank, you are welcome to contact the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. And so they have two different offices. They have one in Los Angeles and one in Santa Ana. The LA office is in Glendale, and that number is 818-539-8909. Or Santa Ana is 714-796-4700. I will make sure to copy all of this into the chat so that you are able to look at that and contact them directly.
Thank you, Julia. The next question looks like it's a cross between Public Works, the Army Corps of Engineer, and Regional Planning. So it's a three-part question. The first question is, when can Altadena residents expect debris removal completion certificates? So we'll take a quick pause there. Does anyone know when they can expect removal completion certificates?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thank you. You should start to see essentially a completion response coming out next week for those properties that have completed debris removal. What we've done is we're actually working on a way that the final sign-off reports from the Army Corps actually get automatically updated in our online system, our Epic LA system, so that when you do come to pull your building permits, all that information will already be in the system and will be reflected in there. But we'll also be reaching out to make sure that homeowners are aware that the process is complete and the ROE has been returned to you.
Okay, thank you. And the second part of that question is, for those who are rebuilding, are property line survey report and land markers required? If so, will the county perform and provide this?
I'll jump in first on that one, Nathan. Let me know if you have anything to add. But yeah, a survey may be required to reestablish property lines after the debris is removed. So currently, a property owner would need to hire a private land surveyor to locate the property corners. So LA County has been seeking a funding source to assist with private property surveys, but none has been identified to date. And then property lines are located by measuring survey markers embedded in the public right-of-way. So Public Works crews are currently verifying the existing centerline survey monuments in the unincorporated portions of the Eaton fire area. And this information can then be used later by those private surveyors working in the area. And then we're using GIS technology to create a common platform so that all private surveyors can utilize that information, saving time and resources.
Awesome.
Looks like Nathan agrees, but if you have anything to add, Nathan, leave it to you there.
No, thank you, Kara. I will just add one thing and just indicate, right, that we are taking a unified countywide approach to rebuilding. And so what Kiara mentioned is absolutely what will be required, right, on those case-by-case bases as we work through the rebuild, right? So we at planning would not require any surveys separately or distinctly from the public works process. I just wanted to bring that up to say, right, as a county, if we do need those things, we would only ask for them once.
Thank you. And then the third part to that question is property topographical survey and geology or soil reports required?
So I'll jump in on that one. A topographical survey may be required in hillside areas, but this would be determined on a case-by-case basis. And then as far as the soils report, whether it would be required to rebuild, not necessarily. If your foundation is a conventional raised or slab on grade with continuous footings that are designed to meet certain specific minimum standards, then you don't need a soils report. So soils report is still required for foundations with caissons or deep piles, if there's geotechnical hazards, if there's basement walls, and other certain criteria. And then in addition, Public Works Geotechnical and Materials Engineering Division approval may be required prior to rebuilding a home if there's a geological hazard present.
Awesome, thank you. And the next one is for regional planning. It says, why can't trailers and RV villages be set up in our parks, golf courses, and empty commercial or church parking lots? Altadena folks need to be close by and be supportive.
Thank you for this question. There are some state executive orders in particular that are out there that have possibly opened up this door, and planning staff is currently working with the State Department of Housing and Community Development to ensure that the state's executive orders are implemented in line with the state's intentions. So we are working collaboratively with the state and others as expeditiously as possible to implement orders related to temporary housing, particularly as it relates to placing a number of temporary housing units on large properties containing things like parks or parking lots. So please do continue to check back with us at planning regularly or visit the Countywide Recovers website for the most up-to-date information on temporary housing and its various allowances. But again, to be clear, we have also recognized this potential opportunity as coming down through state executive orders, and we are working as expeditiously as possible with state departments to ensure that we implement that order as appropriately as possible.
Thank you. And the next question is going to be for regional planning also. This one is, what is the timeline to approve plans for like rebuilds? We submitted to regional planning about 3 weeks ago, and the full plan set was submitted to building and safety 1 week ago.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question as well. The intended timeline regarding rebuilds on the planning side of things is a 2-week turnaround based on the submittal date. And so for that one in particular, right, we would want to get that reviewed ASAP. It should be through planning's process. Beyond that, though, just to be clear, we are working on getting as much staff as we possibly can to clear out what is quite a large backlog already. And so I seriously appreciate the question. Another thing that I will mention is if the individual that asked that question reaches out to us at disaster recovery at planning.lacounty.gov, I can actually personally follow up on that particular application or any others that people want to reach out about and make sure that we are moving them through the process. So thank you.
And the next question is going to be for Public Works. It says, during phase 1, the EPA pulled out things like paint cans, Tesla chargers, etc., and those are now piled up in driveways. When will these materials be picked up?
Great question. Yes, so those materials will be picked up during the debris removal process on your property. So if you opt into the program, those will be picked up when Army Corps comes to do the cleanup. If you opt out of the program, those would be handled by your private contractor.
Awesome, thank you. And the next one is about trees. This one says, my oak tree was damaged and had 3 blue dots for removal. This was de-escalated to a yellow dot. We did not sign a waiver to keep it. Our arborist looked at it and he mentioned that it would become an issue in the future. I called LA County Forestry and they said I would need to pay out of pocket and get a permit for the removal. The tree was damaged in the fire. Why am I being told that I need to pay for it?
Thank you. And this is Nathan with Regional Planning, and I can take that question. Under our disaster recovery ordinance, there is a 2-year monitoring period for all oak trees in the communities that may have been damaged by these fires. If there is a situation in which a tree is creating a concern from a health or safety standpoint, forestry can come out and issue what is called basically an emergency oak tree permit exemption. However, if forestry is unable to issue that emergency permit, if you did not want to wait the 2-year monitoring period before determining whether or not that tree is in fact dead and it can be removed, then you would be required to go through the oak tree permit process in order to remove that tree. And the oak tree permit process does have fees that would need to be paid in association with that.
Thank you. The next question looks like it's for the Department of Public Health. So Dr. Quick, that one is, can the Department of Public Health advise the residents with standing homes adjacent to the Altadena golf course on the safety of the phase 2 staging operations about to begin there?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I would suggest for the logistics and what the sort of specific safety precautions being undertaken there from a logistics and management perspective to have Army Corps speak to that. But what I would like to point out to everyone right now is a reminder that public health does have an advisory in place for any individual who's residing or essentially being in the area within 250 yards of fire debris. So that may be within the burn area, as is the case with this, or outside of the burn area. And essentially what our advisory is saying is that we know that exposure to Fire debris, ash, and soot can contain harmful substances that may have an effect. If you're within 250 yards, you may be more likely to expose and may be more likely to have symptoms. Want to make it very clear that that distance can change and vary based on weather conditions such as wind and so forth. So for folks that are near any fire debris, that advisory is in place until cleanup is complete, and that would include exposure related to cleanup activities anywhere. But would like to kind of open it up if anybody who's on here is able to speak to the logistics and what's being sort of monitored and so forth for the golf course.
So I can jump in there. So we have not started operations at the Altadena golf course yet, but we do have, we're going to have all sorts of best management practices in place to include many forms of dust mitigation in the form of water on the site at multiple points of the operation, as well as air monitoring throughout the site itself. So we'll do it in the safest way possible. And then that's pretty much all I have on this side. Over.
And can I jump right in? I apologize. I had forgotten. I wanted to make one other point because I realized not everybody can see the chat. And this is related to what we heard the Colonel just speak about as well. Once again, pointing people to be able to access Public Health's website for up-to-date information on testing results, as well as linkages to other entities such as South Coast AQMD that does have air monitoring taking place. And I want to just go ahead and say what our website is because I know everybody can't see the chat. So that's publichealth.lacounty.gov /media/wildfire. So that's the website to go to get our post-fire assessment plan, as well as linkages to other sites. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. The next one is going to be for Public Works. The question is there any discussion about power lines being buried in Altadena? Can homeowners request a power line near their property be buried?
I think that question is more appropriately answered by the utility companies.
All right, it looks like we have David Ford from Edison is on. David, do you happen to have a response for that about burying power lines?
Yes, first of all, I just want to thank Supervisor Barger for hosting these meetings. I think they've been very informative to the constituents and colleagues that have been on these calls of just joining together to provide timely information to help rebuild and restore Altadena. So important. SCE is currently reviewing the restoration and rebuild of our system within Altadena. Power line above ground and underground models are being reviewed. We are currently looking at the restoration of power lines being relocated above ground to underground. The modeling of this is still in the design phase, and we look to have some additional information to provide to customers as well as local agencies regarding our relocation of our system. So I'd say in the next coming weeks, we'll be able to come back with some additional information and updates, but it's very dynamic when you're looking at rebuilding. We want to make sure that we're rebuilding the building back better, and where it's feasible, we will definitely be highly considering undergrounding our power lines.
Thank you very much for that, Dave. And we do have time for just this one very last question. This is going to be for regional planning. The question is, can the county guarantee that Altadena will not change the zoning laws to allow investors to come in and build what they want?
Thank you for this question. The county, and planning in particular, is committed to doing everything possible to ensure that the community of Altadena is rebuilt and that its community character is retained. This is the purpose of our disaster rebuild ordinance, in addition to the local board directives and state executive orders that have been promulgated to date. While our land use and zoning regulations can, to a certain extent, dictate how a piece of property is used, land use and zoning ordinances cannot dictate or limit who purchases properties. Planning does aim, however, to make it as convenient and straightforward as possible to apply for a rebuild application, so fire survivors that want to have the opportunity to move through the rebuilding process can.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. So thank you for joining us, everyone. That's all the time that we have for today. For those of you who did log on to Zoom, when you exit this meeting, you will be provided an opportunity to provide your email address. We encourage you to provide your email address if you would like to receive follow-up information. As a reminder, you can visit recovery.lacounty.gov/Altadena or visit your local disaster recovery center. If you do go to the website, you can scroll to the FAQ section where many of the questions that you are submitting over the last couple of weeks have been answered, and you can find those answers on there. So thank you very much, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good day.